Today we'll continue with the introduction to data science. Okay. So in this weekend we'll cover four sections. In section one, I'll be talking about what is data science, why data science is a hype, whether data science is a hype or not, right? So when we are supposed to use data science, and what are the skill sets that are required to become a data scientist, and also we'll discuss about what are the different jargons that are used around the artificial intelligence. On to section 2, I'll be giving you an overview about machine learning. So here you will be learning what is machine learning and why machine learning is required, and what is deep learning, what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning, what are the types of machine learning, and also in section 3 we'll discuss about the linear regression topic. So as part of linear regression, you will be learning what is simple linear regression, what is multiple linear regression, and how to fit the model in both R and Python, and how to evaluate the model, okay, and also how to implement the linear regression R and Python, and also we'll see how to validate the model assumptions, linear regression model assumptions. Now, before we dive into the data science topic, right, let's try to understand these jargons or buzzwords, because a lot of buzzwords are floating around in the internet. You need to be familiar with all these buzzwords. So, what is artificial intelligence? So we could see that something called the internet. When you do some kind of search in the internet related to data science, you can hear this term, right? Artificial intelligence, human intelligence, and artificial intelligence. What is human intelligence? It's a human's intelligence, right? We are the human, right? So every human have intelligence. And here, in the case of artificial intelligence, right? How they coined this term. So in the past, what they did, they want the systems to mimic the human's brain. They want the system to mimic like how the human brain works or functions. So that's how this term came up, and this is what artificial intelligence. Right, so now using artificial intelligence enables or makes it possible for system to learn from experience and adjust to new inputs and perform human-like tasks. Okay, that is what artificial intelligence is. But you can find different definitions from different websites when you do search in the Google. So in simple term, the scientists want the scientists in the past, or researchers, they want the systems to mimic the human's brain, right? They want to give basically the brain to the system, like human brain, okay, so that it can think anything on the go. For example, the classic example is self-driving car, right? So when you hop into the car, and if you tell the car to take you to some other place, right, on the en route, when it encounters any hassles or any issues, right, it can make decision on its own. It doesn't require any human intervention, because these cars are not operated by remote control, isn't it? This is not a toy car. We are not operating with remote control. So these cars, self-driving cars, are trained by it uses machine learning algorithm behind the scene. Under the hood, it uses. Okay, Prakash, can you please? Okay, I'll mute him. Okay, right. So that is what is artificial. So we don't have to, So basically, we want to do some kind of automation, right? We want the systems or machines or cars to think on its own. In case the car encounters on the en route to its destination, if it faces any hassles, it should take decision on its own. The next one is predictive analytics. What is predictive analytics? Predictive analytics is nothing but applying the machine learning algorithm. Right? The application of machine learning algorithm is called predictive analytics, because using machine learning algorithm, we are making the prediction. We are going to predict the future. That is what predictive analytics. And data analytics. So data analytics, these kind of analytics will be performed by both the data analyst as well as the data scientist. This is the precursor before you build or implement any machine learning model. First you need to perform data analysis, whether the given data is fit enough for you to proceed with building the model or not. So data analyst, what they do is they simply take the data, they do analysis, and they do some kind of data munging. Okay, data munging, probably, right, any issues with the data, they will fix it. If the data is not clean, in the sense if the data is inconsistent, and if the data is having a lot of missing values or outliers are there, right, any missing values, outliers, and also based on the business logic, if they have to join or combine or merge more than one data sets, they will be doing this one. But the data analysis, basically what they do is they will be performing ETL related tasks. E stands for extraction, T stands for transformation, L stands for loading the data. Right? But they don't know statistics, they don't know machine learning algorithm. Data analysts, they don't know the statistics part, they don't know machine learning algorithm. Even if they know statistics, they have a very limited knowledge, but they don't have any they are not expert in statistics and machine learning and deep learning algorithm. So what they do is they perform the typical ETL job. Given the data, they will do some kind of data pre-processing. Once they clean the data and process the data, they store the data in the target environment. That's it. Once the data get processed and stored in the target system, that will be consumed by the reporting users. Probably the reporting user might be using Cognos, or nowadays data visualization tools are very popular like Tableau, and even we are using R also. R is an open source or programming language, right? Or even Python also, using the data visualization packages, we can generate reports. Even SAS, right? Some customers, they'll be using SAS, and SAS also very good at report generation. You can generate awesome charts using SAS. Right? So data analytics, data analysts, there are two categories, right? They will be doing simple data pre-processing and then cleaning and then load it. And then some other data analysts, they are also called as report developers. They are the one responsible for generating the reports. But before you generate the report, you need to have the data. That data is supposed to be in a good format, or it should be processed well. That is the role played by data analyst. Next one is business analytics. Business analytics, they are very good at domain. They know in and out of, for example, the business analyst, right, is good in, let's say a business analyst is good in capital marketing and stock marketing. Those guys are very good with the stock market related domain. And retail business analysts, they know in and out of retail business, but they don't know, they have a very limited, or they have a very less knowledge on the programming part, and they do not know how to do programming, right? They don't know they don't have the in-depth knowledge on the programming. They are not expert in programming. Okay, they are very good at business domain, right? And also they can write some simple programs to perform any analytics. See, most of the cases, the data analysts, they use the data visualization kind of tools, because you don't have to write too many lines of code. Instead, you can use the drag and drop kind of thing. Okay, using data visualization tools. So now you understood the difference between data analyst and business analyst. Business analysts, they are very good at business. The data analysts, they are very good at ETL processing. And the next one is deep learning. Right? Machine learning is, as I told you earlier, right? Machine learning algorithms. Using machine learning algorithm, we can make a prediction. We can make a prediction about the future using the historical data. You need to have the historical data to train this machine learning algorithm. Once you train the algorithm, and if you apply this on the unseen data, it can make a prediction. So in simple terms, using machine learning algorithms, we can predict the future. And next one is deep learning. Deep learning, roughly speaking, it is an advanced version of machine learning. Okay, the fundamental building block for deep learning is neural network. Neural network is one of the algorithms that is available as part of your machine learning algorithms. Okay, the neural network, right? What they did, the researchers, they made some improvement to the neural network algorithm. Okay, so and then what they did in simple term, they have something called input layer, output layer. You pass the data to the input layer, and what it does is, right, the neural network algorithm, it pass this data to the hidden layer. They have something called hidden layer. Between input and output layer, you have something called hidden layer. Whatever the data, that input data that you are passing to the neural network algorithm, it passes this data to its hidden layer. Okay, the hidden layer in turn will process or perform complex logic, right? It applies the complex logic and process the data, and finally the transformed data, it will be passed to, or predicted outcome, right? Predicted output of the data, that will be sent to your output layer. So in between the input and output layer, what they did, scientists or researchers, they introduced many layers as part of the hidden layer itself. Hidden layer itself, if you can see, right, 16 hidden layers will be there. In some cases 32 or 19 or 20 hidden layers will be there. So as the number of hidden layers increases, the complexity becomes very high. Right? So that is the basis for deep learning. As you go deep by introducing more and more layers as part of hidden layer, the complexity increases. That is where deep learning is coming into picture. See, in the case of machine learning algorithm, so one of the machine learning algorithms is neural network. Neural network, what they did, they made some kind of, they introduced some new features. Okay, but for the deep learning, neural network is the basis. Right? So in the case of deep learning, we are still using neural network, but it is not a traditional neural network. But we are using some cases, we are using the combination of the normal neural network along with the other advanced neural network algorithms like convolutional neural network and recurrent neural network. Likewise, different deep learning related algorithms are there. All right, so you just think or just so what is deep learning? Deep learning is an advanced version of the machine learning. So what they did, they improvised the neural network, supervised machine learning algorithm, neural network, by introducing more number of layers in the hidden layer, right? So to perform complex tasks like image recognition, image processing, image captioning, annotation, right? Everything is possible now because of deep learning algorithms. And next one is computer vision. Computer vision is also falls under artificial intelligence. I'll just move into this one. Okay, so okay, now let's try to understand what is data science. Okay, so I just put these things in the hierarchical form. Here now you understood, right? What is artificial? Artificial is based on the idea that machines can make the better decision on the human's behalf. It is an umbrella term for machines capable of perception, logic, and learning. In simple term, we are giving the brain to the systems or cars. Okay, so this is an umbrella term. Artificial is an umbrella term. The machine learning falls under artificial intelligence. Using machine learning algorithm, we can make a prediction. And deep learning is deep learning is evolved from machine learning, right? The basis for deep learning is machine learning algorithm, right? The neural network. Okay, and next one is computer vision. Computer vision is also one of the hot topic as part of artificial intelligence, right? Even computer vision also falls under artificial intelligence. The whole idea of using computer vision is to enable the computers to see, identify, and process, analyze images. Right? That is what we do it as part of computer vision. Okay, this is also one of the subfield of artificial intelligence. Deep learning is also the subfield of artificial intelligence, but deep learning got evolved from machine learning. But in the case of computer vision, we'll be using machine learning as well as deep learning also. As I told you, using artificial intelligence, we are giving an intelligence to the system. In other words, we are giving the brain to the system. Take for example the self-driving car. Giving the brain to the car is not only sufficient. If I give the human brain to the car, right? The car has the brain, it can make decision on the en route to the destination, right? If it poses any issues on the en route to the destination, it can make decision. Suppose, let's say somebody is crossing the road, right? Out of the blue, somebody is crossing the road. What this algorithm does, it knows how to react, right? How to react, how to react in real time. It has to make decisions in a matter of milliseconds. Only then it can avoid hitting that person, right? So it makes the decision everything on its own because we have given the brain or intelligence to the car. But with the brain alone, the system or the car cannot drive, right? So car can drive with the help of the brain, but it has to understand what object is crossing, right? So let's say if somebody is crossing the road, it is fine. It has to avoid the person or to avoid accident. It has to take the diversion. Fine, but in the traffic signal, if it's how can the car can understand whether red light is appearing or green light or amber light is appearing there, right? It needs a vision. That's where what they did, the researchers, they want to give the eyes or vision to the system so that the system can get to know so what is appearing in front of it, right? Whether it is a livestock or whether it's a human or some other truck is crossing the vehicle or which vehicle is which vehicle is running before his car, right? Everything will be seen with the help of vision, computer vision. Okay, it's all because of computer vision. Now using computer vision, we are able to give the vision to the system, and with the help of deep learning and machine learning, now we are able to give the brain to the system. Okay, and we have something called cognitive computing. So at this moment I don't want to talk now. Okay, IBM, they use something called cognitive computing. We'll discuss it later. Okay, at this point in time, let's not get into that one. Hope you understood now what is artificial intelligence, what is predictive analytics, and what is data analytics, business analytics, and computation, all these terms, right? Now you are sort of familiar with all these terms. Next, we will understand what is data science. So, so the question here is, does data science is same as big data? Or these two terms are same? Few people still, when I interact with them, they have the misconception that these two terms are same. It is not same. Data science is different from big data, but we apply the data science process on the big data. Okay, the big data, as the name suggests, it is a humongous volume of data. Or see nowadays, right, especially in the last 10 years, we've been getting a huge volume of digital data. The volume of the digital data increased exponentially. Okay, so now what happened, to store this humongous amount of data, they developed something called Hadoop software. We will see Hadoop also after completion of the data science training. Okay, so Hadoop is meant to store humongous amount of data, and also you can store any type of data in Hadoop. That is the beauty of Hadoop, because Hadoop provides horizontal scalability. Right? So you just think at this moment, Hadoop is a container. It can take any huge amount of data, and it can accommodate huge amount of huge amount of data in its system. And also it can, using Hadoop, right, you can perform real time or near real time analytics, because the retrieval time is also much faster. Basically, they define the big data using 3 V's. Okay, based on the 3 characteristics, the 3 V's. Okay, based on the 3 V categories, they define big data: volume, velocity, variety. Volume, velocity, variety. And what is volume? Humongous amount of data we are getting it. Because of the humongous amount of data generated by the system nowadays, the enterprises were posing a lot of issues in storing these humongous amount of data in the traditional RDBMS system. They were posing a lot of issues because of scalability issues. Okay, and the next V is velocity, the speed at which the humongous amount of data are being generated much faster than in the past. Per day itself, the Twitter and Facebook, they are generating 1 petabyte volume of data. What do you mean by 1 petabyte volume of data? 1024 terabytes is equivalent to 1 petabyte volume of data, right? And again, per day itself, 1 petabyte volume of or being generated. To store this 1 petabyte of volume, 1 petabyte volume of data in their traditional database system, right? It took longer time to store it, and also it failed in most of the cases. It broke. The system was not able to store the huge volume of data, and also the jobs, right, to store this data got failed. So what they did, so that's when what they did, they developed something called Hadoop software, right? So now you understood what is big data. Big data, they defined big data based on the three characteristics of the data. So volume, velocity, variety. The volume of the data is humongous. Not only it is humongous, that too the humongous amount of data are being generated in a single day itself, right? That is what velocity, volume, velocity. Velocity is nothing but the speed. And one more V, that is variety. Not only the volume of the data is humongous, and also it generates this humongous data in a single day itself. To complicate this further, most of the data where nowadays we are getting it in the form of unstructured data like audio, video, images, right? So this is the take for example in the case of self-driving car, right? How though we give the vision to the car, it requires a lot of data, right? So it uses sensor to understand the environment. The sensor keep taking the data in the form of images, right? And it keep send it to your machine learning algorithm, right? So a lot of image data is required, right? The sensors are recognizing huge amount. Even the sensors are generating huge amount of data, right? That is what is happening. So volume, velocity, variety, right? So this is called big data. The huge volume of the data, on the one hand we are getting it, and also these huge amount of data also processed in a getting stored in the single day itself. And apart from this, the variety of the data, most of the 80% of the data we are getting in the form of unstructured data. So this is called big data. So this is the challenge for the most of the enterprises. Okay, so right, they were posing a lot of challenges in terms of storing this huge amount of. That's where they developed something called Hadoop. And nowadays, most of the enterprises, they started using Hadoop software in order to overcome this big data related, the 3V related challenges. But that is what big data, right? To overcome the big data challenge, they developed a software called Hadoop. Now you store the data, now you are able to store huge amount of data because Hadoop can gulp humongous amount of data in no time. Okay, if you have a cluster, Hadoop cluster, which has more number of nodes, you can store huge amount of data in it, and fine. And if you store the huge amount of data in Hadoop softwares, right, without much hassles, you cannot say you are successful, right? So that is fine. This is a data engineering problem. What you do is you are able to store the data, petabytes and above volume of data, and if you want to recover or restore the data, or if you want to fetch the data in real time, near real time, it is possible. 1 second, someone joined just now. Okay, you join one more time, right? So that's the fun. So now I have the data. Now I don't have any scalability issues after they develop this Hadoop software. Everything is fine now. Now if I go and tell my people, the people above me, we are able to now, even if we get a humongous amount of data, we can store the data in Hadoop. Do you think they'll be happy? No, right? So the management, right, or the C-level executives, the chairman and the CEO and chief operating COO, CEO, right? So they are very particular about what kind of insight you are able to get from the system. What is the ROI? What is the return on investment? You tell me the return on investment. Don't tell me scalability, all these things. Okay, we don't know these jargons. Now tell me what is the return on investment I can get. Right? They are very particular about the insights. What is the return on investment? Right? We spent huge amount of money in terms of setting up Hadoop, everything. Setting up the cluster, everything. Everything is fine. But what is the end of the day? What is the takeaways? So now what we are doing is we have the container, Hadoop container. You just think Hadoop is a container at this moment, okay? So it holds, it houses huge amount of data. Fine, we have the huge amount of data. Everything is fine. But end of the day, when you apply the data science, right? When you apply the data science process on this humongous amount of data, we are able to find out the hidden insights. We are able to uncover the trends and hidden insights from this huge amount of data using mathematical models, by applying the mathematical models as part of the data science thing, right? So this helps us to gain actionable business insights to drive the business forward to competitive advantage, right? But in simple term here, right, data science encompasses everything except the cognitive computing and data analytics, business analytics, okay? Data science, look here, data science encompasses machine learning, deep learning and computer vision, okay? You think that way. So now you are fine with this term, you are comfortable with this term. What is data science? Data science is nothing but or it encompasses machine learning, or under data sciences encompasses artificial intelligence. In turn, artificial intelligence encompasses machine learning, deep learning and computer vision. The next one is okay. Now the question is, why data science and what are its applications? Right. So those those embrace the data science or those apply the machine learning algorithm, deep learning algorithm, these sophisticated algorithms on their humongous amount of data. They are able to gain insights quickly. They get to know what is happening, right? And also, right, they are able to predict what is going to happen in the near future and future. When they come to know well ahead what is going to happen in the near future, what is going to happen in the long run, well ahead, if they get to know it, right, they can take preventive measures or precautionary measures in order to avoid any risk also. Suppose if I get to know well ahead, right, 2 months down the line we are going to pose some issues, what we can do is, if I get to know well ahead, in today itself, if I get to know what is going to happen after 2 months, after 1 week, after 2 weeks, what I can do is I can come up with some kind of mitigation plan to preempt those risks, right? That is where data science is very much helpful, and it helps us to maintain an edge over our rivalry companies, because we have this sophisticated environment using which we can predict, we can do forecasting well ahead, right? And also this prediction and forecasting, if you do it with better accuracy, right, we are on the we are in a much better position. And data science has the power of significantly improve the bottom line. So we know, right, what is bottom line and top line. Top line is revenue, bottom line is your net profit after tax, everything, right? What is my net profit? So it has the power to significantly improve the bottom line. So if you I think you must be notice this one. In Amazon, you have something called recommendation engine. When you purchase any item, it displays something called customers also bought, right? Let's say I want to buy a mobile phone, right? Along with this, it automatically displays the accessories related to mobile phone, right? Like a mobile cover and mobile temper proof, right? Temper glass and antivirus. Likewise, many accessories related to the mobile phone, it displays that, right, along with the mobile phone. Actually, I want to buy mobile phone. Along with this, it displays all the things. That is called your recommendation engine, right? This recommendation engine, right, they implemented it by 2007. I think they are the Amazon. They are the one pioneer in implementing this recommendation engine in their website. Because of which, in 2007, the Amazon's revenue was $29 billion, out of which $5 billion they generated because of implementing the recommendation engine. So in this case, the recommendation engine is the catalyst in terms of driving the revenue, isn't it? See how the technology plays, right? The technology plays a catalyst. It is a it is a catalyst in terms of boosting the revenue. So that's why I mentioned this point, right? Data science has the power to significantly improve the bottom line. Yes, technology also, right, helps us boosting our revenue and cutting down our cost, right? It is very common, right? Nowadays we could see that now we are able to quantify that also, how much cost we are able to cut and how much revenue we are able to increase it. Everything we can quantify it because of this machine learning algorithm. Apart from this, lot of many use cases, we'll discuss it little later. Now let's try to understand what is the difference between human learning and machine learning. Machine learning, human learning, right? So human learning, they learn it. How human learns? Supposing you want to learn a car driving, what you do is you call the driving school person. He comes and trains you for a week. After a week, he wants you to drive the car by sitting next to you. The driver is sitting next to you and he is asking you to drive the car because last 1 week he trained you. During the training, he explained you how to drive the car very clearly. Now what you do is, whatever he taught you in the last 1 week, you apply it when you drive it. If somebody crosses the road, right, out of the blue, somebody is crossing the road, what you do is you apply you brake and then you stop the car, or you slow down the car and you will you will slow down the car, right? And also he trained you on various parts of a city, like, a heavily congested area and moderately congested area, low congested area. He trained you in all these areas. Now you are able to drive. What are the problems that he encountered while driving in those kind of areas? You noticed it. Everything went into your brain. Your brain is like a machine learning algorithm, right? It got trained by the data. Whatever you have seen in the last 1 week, whatever you heard from him the last week, right? You are able to apply it now when you drive it. If somebody crosses it, when you see the red light in the traffic, right? You are slowing down your car and then you are stopping the car, right? While stopping the car, what you should do? You apply the brake and then you bring your gear into the neutral, right? And then you stop the car. Once the green light appears, you slowly you put the gear in the first gear. You apply the first gear and then you slowly move the car and then you increase the speed of the car, right? All these things you noticed, right? Everything got trained. Your brain got trained. Now whatever you learned in the past, based on the learning, you start driving on your own. As you drive 1 week, 2 week, right, continuously, what will happen? Initially you might tend to make mistakes. As you drive more and more, you learn more and more. Your brain learns more and more. Whatever you mistake you did it, right? Initially, the first week when you started driving, you made some mistakes, and how the driver helps you. Okay, you are not supposed to use this gear. You are not supposed to do this one, right? He teaches you everything during the course of you drive the car. Right? This is how we learn. Even in the case of kids, right? Kids, how they learn? They watching the TV and also they play games and they talk to their neighbor kids. Right? Whatever the neighbor talks or parents talk, everything it goes its brain. It gets everything. It goes its brain, right? The kid's brain, and slowly the kids will talk on their own, right? And talk on their own. This is how a human learn. But how the system learns? But the system cannot learn like how the human can learn, because it doesn't have the brain, biological brain. It doesn't have it, right? So how the system or the machines can learn? So what we are doing is the systems or machines can learn from the experience, nothing but the data, historical data. If you want to implement a machine learning algorithm, you need to train this algorithm with the historical data. If the volume of the historical data is more, the more the data, when you take more data to train your algorithm, the accuracy of the algorithm is going to be very good. Like I pointed out here, right? Yeah, here in this case, when you keep drive for 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, what will happen is more experience you are getting. That means more data is going to your brain. The more the data, armed with the more data, you are driving with, you are driving with higher confidence. You are not making a single mistake, right? Over a period of time, when you keep drive, what will happen is the chance of making the mistake is very less from your side, because your brain got trained with huge amount of data. Similarly, in the case of machine learning algorithm, since we are training this algorithm with a huge amount of data, the system can learn the pattern automatically, right? That is the beauty of machine learning algorithms, right? All you need to do, just tell the algorithm what data it should use it to learn. If I give millions of records, millions and millions of data to train my algorithm, the system can learn from this data, and then when you apply this algorithm on the unseen data, it can make a prediction automatically. Still, it will be a bit vague what is machine learning is all about. In simple term, you just remember, to train your machine learning algorithm, we need to have the historical data. With the help of the historical data, we are training this algorithm. This algorithm learn the patterns when we source this data to this algorithm, and then the learned patterns it applies on the unseen data. That is what machine learning is all about. Still, you are not clear. You will be very clear after I explain the one of the use cases in the subsequent slide. Okay, now let's try to understand what is the difference between traditional programming and machine learning. I know Python, I know Spark, I know how to write programming in Scala, but how it is different from machine learning? Right? In the case of traditional programming, what we do is we take the input data, and based on the logic, right, based on the business logic or based on the requirement given by the management, what we are doing is we are converting the data into converting the data into the required format, right? The required format. That is what we are doing it, right? See, the manager has given the input data to you, and you are a programmer. What you are doing is you are asking them, right? So how do I what should I do with this input data? And they tell you, right, you need to take this is your input data. So what they say, right, take this 14 and multiply each and every record in this column, you need to multiply it with 2 and plus 2, right? This is the logic given by your management. Now what you are doing, or business people, right? Now what you are doing is you are using Java or Python or C++ to write a program to implement the logic given by them, right? Business logic. Now what you did, you took the input data and you are writing a program. What you are doing in the programming is multiply each and every value by 2 and add it by 2. Just think, x is also 2 here, okay? So when you do this, what will happen? For example, in this case, 13 into 2 plus 2, 28. This is the logic given by your manager. You are implementing that in your program. Then what your program does is, it applies this logic on this given data. 14 into 2 plus 2, 30. And 21, take each and every value here and multiply it by 2 plus 2, you do it. That is, and the output, you are producing the output. Since you applied this logic on the input data, you transform the input data in this format. This is what is required by the management. This is what we have been doing it since a long time, right? The next one is machine learning. So in the case of machine learning, what we are going to do is, we need to show this algorithm, machine learning algorithm, with both the input and output data. Listen very carefully. When it comes to machine learning algorithm, we need to show both the input and output data upfront. But in this case, you are receiving the input, and based on the logic, you are transforming the input data into the output format, right? But when it comes to machine learning, you need to show both the input and output upfront to your algorithm. Now your algorithm, this machine learning algorithm has an intelligence to nail what logic you have used it in order to derive this value. Right? It tells you this one. Okay, this is the pattern. Right? With the help of machine learning algorithm, we are able to uncover the pattern. So this is the pattern is used. So all the input values were multiplied by 2 plus 2. Okay, that is what 30, right? That is what they have done it. So this is the pattern. It was able to learn this pattern from the given both input and output data. That is the difference between traditional programming and machine learning. In the case of traditional programming, we receive only the input data. But when it comes to machine learning, you need to have both input and output data to train your algorithm. But this is applicable for supervised machine learning. Okay, don't think for all the machine learning algorithm we are supposed to train the algorithm with both input and output data. In the case of, you have something called supervised machine learning algorithm. For the supervised machine learning algorithm, you need to show both input and output data to your algorithm. Only then it can extract the pattern from this. Okay. So next we will take one simple example, okay, a case study. With that you will be able to understand what is machine learning is all about. For example, you are working in a bank, you are working as a manager, and one of the, let's say you are manager, right? The general manager or branch manager, he comes up to you and he tells you, you need to increase the market share. It's nothing but increase the revenue. I don't know what you are going to do. You are supposed to increase the revenue, only then you are eligible for promotion or salary hike, right? So what you are trying to do is, you are just wondering for the next quarter, you set the expectations very clearly that I need to increase the revenue by 25 or 30% the next quarter. What should I do? How can I increase the revenue? So bank offers various products, right? Like term deposit, savings account, and current account. Like they have various products, and even they offer credit card, right? You are just thinking about they offer, banks offer loans, like different loans like auto loan, and education loan, right, and term loan. Likewise, different types of loans are also they are offering it. As a manager, you are just thinking about it. How do I increase the revenue by 25 or 30% for in the upcoming quarter? Right? What you are doing is, you are coming with an idea. Okay, so what we will do is we will come up with something like we will do some kind of analysis, right? So what we will do, let's you are just thinking about it, and suddenly some idea flashes in your mind. Okay, but better we will do cross selling. What do you mean by cross selling? Let's say you are selling more than one product. Let's say you are selling 5 products to your customers. Let's say you are selling 5, or you are producing 5 products, or you are offering 5 products or 6 products. Customers, right? Some customers, they purchased one product. Let's say you are producing, or you are selling 10 products. Out of 10 products, not necessarily all the customers should buy the 10 products from you only, right? Some customers, they buy 1 product, 2 product. When it comes to bank, right? Most of the customers, they have the savings account with this bank. What she thinks, and most of the customers, they have credit card with this bank. Now what she thinks is, right, so why can't we offer loan to the customers? If I offer the loan to more customers, it is going to be more revenue, because more the customers, if I offer the loan, in addition to the principal amount, every month they are supposed to pay the interest. The interest is the revenue for the bank. Okay, so this is what cross-selling. What she does is, for the existing customers, why can't we offer the loan? Already they have savings account and credit card with our bank, and why can't we offer the loan to our customers, existing customers? But she cannot offer the loan blindly to all her customers, because if the customers don't repay the money, what will happen? Right? The bank will become bankrupt, right? So what she does is she wants to be smart, right? She takes the data, historical data. Since I have space issue here, right, I just for illustration purpose, I just took 3 customers data here. This is the customer ID and years of credit, income, own house, loan balance, delinquent accounts, max billings. These are the columns are there. She is just going through this data, and by looking at this, she could understand this customer is not a profitable customer, right? See, by looking at this, right, so this guy's income is 52,000. He is not owning a house. Already has a loan balance. Already is owning. He is having a loan. He borrowed a loan, and his account became delinquent in the past for 2 times, and max billing cycles late. 3 times he made late. So hence he is not a profitable customer. When she goes through this one, she could understand he is a profitable customer. He is owning a house and he is not having any pre-existing loan. And though one time his account became delinquent, it's okay, right? He didn't, even here also you could see 0. So hence she flags this customer yes. And similarly she flags this customer yes. She's deriving these values, right? Yes or no, based on their past historical transactions, right? So that's why I call this as input features. With the help of the input features, she is able to derive the output feature. So in machine learning, instead of saying columns, we call the columns as features. Okay. So in the case of machine, this is the historical data. So in the historical data, using the input features, she is able to derive the output feature. This is called your output feature. It is also called as a labeled output features. In simple term, what they say, right? They use this term, features and label, right? In my data set, I have both features and label, right? So this label, let's say the label also already, they flagged it. Somebody, they already, so this customer is not a profitable, this customer is profitable, this customer is a profitable customer. And likewise, right, let's say this bank manager, just for illustration purpose, I just showed you only 3 records, right? But this bank has close to, let's say, 10 million. The customer base, the bank's customer base is 10 million. But 10 million customers are there. They cannot go through each and every customer like this. They cannot flag this one. Let's even if they flagged it, right, in the past based on the transaction, whatever they did it, right? But you cannot go through each and every observations in the given data. What she does is she shows this machine learning algorithm with both the input and output features. As I told you here, right, the difference between the traditional programming and machine learning programming. In the case of machine learning, especially in the case of supervised machine learning, you need to show the input and output upfront your algorithm, or you need to feed the input and output to the algorithm upfront. Okay. So let's say you have an algorithm here, machine learning algorithm. You are training this algorithm with this historical data. This historical data consists of both input features as well as the labeled features. Now, let's say a new customer, when he applies for a loan, this customer ID is 1006, or here 1006. This is the customer, new customer. He applied for a loan. In the online, he applied for the loan. So in the online, he filled up the application with this data. So his years of credit is 10, his income is 72,000, he is owning a house, his loan balance is 2,000, and delinquent account 0, this was the 0. Now your algorithm has to predict the label for this customer, right? So when you apply this trained algorithm on this unseen data to predict this target variable, in this case the target variable is profitable customer. Rishik, can you tell me whether it is going to be yes or no? Is he a profitable customer or not? Can we offer the loan or not? Let's say when you train this algorithm with both the input and output features, what happens here is, right, behind the scene, this algorithm generates some rules. This is the decision tree. It generates the rules like this. If the delinquent account is greater than 2 and max billing cycle late greater than 1, then he is not a profitable customer. If the delinquent account is 0 and income is more than 40,000. See, his income is more than 40,000 and years of credit is more than 3. Then he is a profitable customer, right? This algorithm has an intelligence to learn the pattern, something like this, from this historical data. That is the reason why we are using machine learning algorithm, because the machine learning algorithm has an intelligence to learn the pattern from the historical data. Right? Like this, right? Once it was able to learn this pattern from this data, it is going to apply this pattern on this new customer. While applying this, right, when it checks, right, it checks this condition, it is not this one, is dealing condition is not greater than 2, it is not greater than, hence, it is not a non-profitable customer. Next, it checks this condition. Yeah, so this customer is a profitable customer. It predicts the class label. We use this term class label. In this case, the model predicts the class label as Y. That means he is a profitable customer. So the likewise, like in this case, one customer. In the real-time scenario, maybe 1 million customers, or 0.2 million, 0.3 million, 0.2 or 0.3 million customers, they will be applying for a loan. All you need to do just pass this data, right? You need to apply this algorithm on this unseen data. The algorithm automatically make a prediction whether is a profitable customer or not. So once the algorithm predicts, oh yes, this customer is profit, yes, it will predict the class label as yes, and this data will be sent to your manager, and your manager just check it and she'll going to approve it, right? So here you don't have to go through each and every record and each and every customer. It's a time taking process. What you did, you trained your algorithm with the historical data. With the help of the historical data model, the machine learning model, since it has an intelligence to learn the pattern from this data, right? When you apply this model on the unseen data, it will predict the class level in this case, right? They predict, right? Here the customer is profitable customer, and likewise, if you have 0.2 million customers are there, right? So it will predict the class level for all the 0.2 million customers. Some customers, they are not profitable customers. Some customers, they are profitable customers. And again, you can implement some mechanism to filter only the profitable customer. Those records, if you can send to her, our job will be easier, right? So that is what machine learning is all about in simple term. In the case of, so how to define machine learning, right? So formally, how to define a machine learning? So you train or teach your algorithm with the historical data. The learned algorithm, when you apply on the unseen data, it predicts the target variable without writing programming, without writing any programming, right? You don't have to write lines and lines of code to make a prediction, right? Without writing lines and lines of code, your algorithm makes a prediction automatically. So in that case, now the question is, without writing the program, the algorithm is able to make a prediction, right? So does that mean I don't need to write any program, or I don't need to write lines and lines of code? Still, you need to write, you need to write program, right? You need to write your script to process the data. Supposing in this data, right, you have some missing values, or the profitable customer column also has some missing values here, right? Or some abnormal values are there, and in some cases the income itself missing here, right? 0 missing value is there, right? And so some data issues will be there. So for that, you need to write a program. You need to do data pre-processing before you feed this data, or before you use this data to train your algorithm. You need to clean this data. You need to make sure that the data is clean, right? And then only for that you need to write program. See, in this case, we are using only one data here, right? Only one data set. In real-time scenario, we'll be using multiple data sets. We have to merge or join more than one data sets, and also implement some business logic. Certain data, you need to filter it out, right? And clean the data, eliminate the outliers. All the things we'll be doing it, right? So, right, for that, yes, you need to write a programming. But thing is, you don't have to write a program to implement the decision tree algorithm. All these algorithms are already available as a function in almost all the statistical softwares, including Python and R, right? Programming language, it is available. All you need to do is just tell this algorithm which all columns are part of the input features, which column is the labeled output feature. That's all. This you don't have to write a program to implement this decision tree algorithm. This is plain vanilla. It is already, they already someone wrote, implemented this algorithm in the form of functions or methods. All you need to do is just pass the input feature and label output feature to this algorithm. It makes a prediction on its own. Okay. Still you need to write program, but you don't have to write program to implement those machine learning algorithms. Okay. Now let us see few use cases of machine learning algorithm. In the case of retail, with the help of implementing machine learning algorithm, we can do hyper personalization. We can develop conversational commerce, like conversational bots. Nowadays, the conversational bots are gaining a lot of popularity, like the chatbot, voice bot. These are the one gaining a lot of popularity. It replaces the virtual. It plays as a virtual agent. It replaces the physical agent. Suppose somebody is coming to your website, and you have you have the chat utilities available, and there you'll be asking them. So what time, or so do you have Lenovo laptops available in your shop? Right? So in that case, someone has to sit physically in the buyer side, right? Sorry, not buyer side, from the merchant side, and they are supposed to respond. Yes, we sell laptops, Lenovo laptops. And what is your budget? She is asking you, and you need to reply back saying this. This is the my requirement. This is the configuration I'm looking for it. What is the price for this? She has to type, right? From the merchant side, she has to respond back to this guy, to the customer. So nowadays, with the emergence of conversational bots, you don't require the physical agent. The bot, bot is acronym for robot, right? The chat bot replaces the physical agent. It is a virtual agent. It responds to the customers in the chat like how a human responds. It is all possible because of the applications of the machine learning algorithm. Okay, and these are the areas the machine learning plays an important role. Even in the case of healthcare, right? It is doing computational drug discovery, right? For this given disease, what kind of medicine can be given, right? It predicts, it makes the drug discovery also, right? And also it helps the doctors to provide appropriate treatment for the given health condition of the patient. Everything it tells. And also using the machine learning algorithm, we can predict this. You are throwing millions and millions of MRI scans to the machine learning algorithm. Once the algorithm get trained on by seeing these images, right, by going through these images, when you show new customers or new patients MRI scan to this algorithm, it makes the prediction accurately. Okay, the accurately is the very it's important thing. Okay, accuracy is based on the way how you we tune the algorithm. We, in the sense, data scientists, how data scientists we train the algorithm, how we tuned this algorithm, it's all depend on us. Okay, so in simple term, if you throw a bunch of images, the scan images to the algorithm now can predict automatically, oh, this person has malignant tumor, this patient has benign tumor. Malignant is very critical. Anytime anything can happen. Benign is, though there is a lump is there in the brain, but still it is not going to cause any problem. It is not cancerous cell. It doesn't have any cancerous cell in it, right? Or it doesn't have any dangerous cells in it. It is just a lump. Okay, it automatically predicts whether the patient has cancer or something like. Okay, it reduces the time of radiologist. Okay, and in the case of manufacturing, right? Predictive maintenance. In the case of supply chain optimization of shop floor, everywhere it plays an important role. When it comes to bank, predicting the fraud, right? Anyhow, we'll discuss this when I give you a demo during the time of implementing the machine learning algorithm, so that you will get to know that. I'll walk you through the case studies in detail before I implement those machine learning algorithms. Okay. Now let's take a look at the various types of machine learning algorithms. Okay. From the high level, there are 4 types of machine learning algorithms are there. One is supervised machine learning algorithm, other one is unsupervised, and the next one is semi-supervised, and the other one is reinforcement machine learning algorithm. So what do you mean by supervised machine learning algorithm? This is the classic example. This is the classic example for the supervised machine learning algorithm. In this case, for this algorithm, we are training this algorithm with both the input and output features. In the case of the decision tree is one of the supervised machine learning algorithms. So now we are talking about types of machine algorithms. The first one is supervised machine learning algorithm. In the case of supervised machine learning algorithm, we are training the algorithm with both input and output features. Okay, that's it. The next step is, right, in the case of supervised machine learning algorithm, you need to have the labeled output data. What is the labeled output data? I showed you, right, a while back. A profitable customer, non-profitable customer, yes or no, right? That is called your labeled output. You have to have the labeled output data in the case of supervised machine learning algorithm, or you need to have the direct feedback or predict the outcome. Again, in the case of supervised machine learning algorithm, you are pretty sure what you are going to predict. In this case, we are very clear what we are going to predict. We are going to predict whether the customer is a profitable customer or not. See, this is the existing customers data, right? These customers are new customer, right? With the past customers payment behavior, we train this algorithm. Now we apply if I apply this algorithm on the unseen data, right, based on the patterns it learned, right, from this data. Okay, customer has lesser income, pre-existing loan, in the past they defaulted, right? That is what the pattern it learned from this historical data. When you apply this algorithm on this data, it goes and checks, okay, whether his salary is or income is less than 70, no, less than 40,000, less than 50,000, or less than 60,000. In this case, it is income is more than 40k. Yes, income is more than 40,000. Yes, of credit is more. Then he is profitable because he doesn't have pre-existing loan also. He is owning a house. In case the customer failed to pay back the money to the bank, we can still recover the money because he is owning a house. Right? So in simple term, right, in what is supervised machine learning algorithm, you need to have the labeled output data, and also you are very clear about what you are going to predict. In this case, we are predicting profitable customer. Right? So that is what supervised machine learning, right? In simple term, that is what. So to here, why it is supervised machine learning algorithm? Because we are supervising the algorithm, because we are teaching the algorithm with both the input and output data. Like a kid, right? I show the kid a toy, elephant toy, and tell the kid this is called elephant. The elephant is a toy, or you just think it is an image. Let's say you are taking an image, you are showing an image, and you are telling the kid this is the elephant, and you are taking a giraffe image and you are telling your kid or teaching your kid that this is giraffe. What is the input output here? The image is the input, the output is elephant. The image giraffe is the input, the output is giraffe, the word, the text, right? Giraffe. The kid is learning with the help of both the input and output data. Similarly, in the case of supervised machine learning algorithm, you need to give both the input and output data to the algorithm so that it can learn the pattern. Right? See, like a kid, right? When you train the kid by showing both the image and the text, right? When you show the image and relate that with some text, right? Elephant or giraffe, the kid can learn it, right? So when you let's say if you show a bigger elephant or bigger giraffe toy or image later point in time, and if you ask the kid, right, it can tell very clearly, yes, this is the elephant, this is the giraffe. The kid is not memorizing there. Try to understand this point. The kid is not memorizing it. Rather, the kid is storing the pattern of the image in its brain, right? This image as elephant has a trunk and tusk, a bigger ear, and the size is very big. When it comes to giraffe, the neck is very high, right? The neck is so tall. This pattern went into the mind of the kid. When you show later point in time with different forest elephant and giraffe, still it can tell this is elephant, this is giraffe. The kids are like human brain, right? Not only kids, human brain, right? When you see someone with some pattern, right, right? So we are not just seeing their face. And listen, you are asking, you are meeting a new friend, and you are asking him what is your name, what is your name, right? And he says his name is Ashok. So Ashok is a tall guy, and he has a curly hair, and he's a fair guy. All these patterns are going to your brain. Next time when you see him somewhere else, right? This time he trimmed his hair and he has a beard, but still you are able to recognizing who this guy is. Similarly, in the case of supervised machine learning algorithm, what we are doing is we are training the algorithm with both input and output data. The algorithm is not memorizing it, right? So it learns the pattern from the historical data. But again, in some cases, the algorithm can memorize. As a data scientist, we are supposed to make sure that the algorithms are not memorizing it. Okay. The next one is unsupervised. When it comes to unsupervised, let's say you don't have the labeled data. In this case, you have the luxury the customer has given you already, along with the input features. So and so customers are non-profitable customers, so and so customers are profitable customers. You have the luxury. They have given the values for this column. Let's say this is called your labeled feature. If you don't have the labeled feature, what you will do? Let's say you joined as a data scientist with Google. Okay, Google, and they give you a bunch of images. Like, they are giving you 1 million images to you. Do you think you can put a label like this for 1 million images? This image is giraffe, this image is elephant, this image is like crow, this is something else. Can you put the can you flag, or can you derive this labeled features, or can you write the labeled features for each and every image? And also, they are telling you to group or to classify which all images are related to elephant, which all images are related to dog. Dog itself, different breeds are there. Your algorithm should classify correctly, irrespective of the breed of the dog. It should correctly predict these images are related to dog, these images are related to elephant, these images are related to cat, correctly, right? But in this case, you have 1 million images are there, but you don't have time to label each and every image, because they want you to predict the label for these images in a day time, right? And then in 2 days time, you need to predict and tell, or you need to classify which all images are related to which group. Right? So you don't have the labeled output data. Right? That is where the unsupervised machine learning algorithms are very much helpful. Right? It self deducts the pattern from the data. The unsupervised machine learning algorithm itself detects the pattern from the data. Right? All you need to do is just throw the images to this algorithm. It automatically finds the structure, all the things, and then it tells this is the one is related to this one. Okay, this one is related to this group. And these animals are cat. These animals are dog. These animals are elephant. Right? It automatically do the clustering or grouping. Okay, it has a capability to self-deduct the data, right? In the case of unsupervised, you don't need to have the labeled data. Okay, it uncover the hidden structure from the data. It has the capability to uncover the hidden structure. That is what unsupervised machine learning. The next one is semi-supervised. It is an hybrid of both, or it is a combination of both supervised and unsupervised machine learning algorithm. Sometimes what will happen is, given the data, They say they have given you 1 million records data to you. Of the 1 million records, there's 0.5 million records of the data. You have the labeled feature, output features. You have the value for the labeled features, but remaining 0.5 million records, you don't have the. They did not give you the thing. In that kind of situation, the semi-supervised algorithm is very much helpful. Anyhow, I will explain you later when I cover the semi-supervised algorithm. The last one is reinforcement. This is the machine learning algorithm, right? The reinforcement machine learning algorithm is used in the case of self-driving car. The Google self-driving car, they implemented reinforcement machine learning algorithm. The reinforcement algorithm, it learn a series of actions. It learn from the series of actions. Okay, anyhow, I will explain this also later point in time. What exactly, as part of this batch, I'm going to cover reinforcement learning also, don't worry. So now you understood, you got a better understanding about what is supervised machine learning algorithm, what is unsupervised, you got some amount of idea about semi-supervised, reinforcement. These are the 4 types of machine learning algorithms are available. Okay, so what is supervised machine learning algorithm? That's what I discussed in the previous slide, right? Supervised machine learning algorithm here. Learning from labeled data using classification regression model. It's commonly used in applications where historical data predicts likely events. So these are the algorithms are falling under supervised machine learning. Okay, these are the algorithms we'll be using it as part of supervised machine learning. Okay, you have something on neural network, linear regression, logistic regression, support vector machines. We have a gamut of algorithms which will be using it to solve the supervised machine learning problems. Okay, the next one is, okay, next what we will do is we will get into, next one is deep learning, right? So deep learning is an extension of machine learning algorithms. In deep learning also we have varieties of algorithms are there, something like convolutional neural network, recurrent neural network, and you have something called encoder and decoder, right? Likewise, many algorithms are there. With the difference between the machine learning and deep learning algorithm is using deep learning algorithm, you can do image processing, image classification, image segmentation, object detection. All those things you can do it with the help of deep learning algorithm. In the case of machine learning, we have something called feature selection. We, as a data scientist, we are the ones supposed to do the feature selection. Okay, but when it comes to deep learning, we don't the algorithm doesn't require the data scientist to do the feature selection. Rather, it does the feature selection on its own. It automatically extract the features from the given images. Supposing you want to do some kind of image classification, you have something called convolutional neural network. Using convolutional neural network algorithm, he can do image classification. Okay, the convolutional neural network algorithm automatically it extracts the feature from the images. Okay, that is the beauty of the deep learning algorithm. Anyhow, when I explain you the convolutional neural recurrent neural, you will get more clarity on this one. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, since few members, the key members did not join today, right? So I'll be wrapping up the training now. Okay, tomorrow we'll circle back. We'll take more time tomorrow with the linear regression algorithm. Okay, tomorrow I'll introduce you what is linear regression is all about, why we are supposed to use linear regression, and when we are supposed to use linear regression, how we are supposed to use linear regression, right? Everything I'll explain you in detail tomorrow. Okay, because I was expecting some more, almost 4 to 5 more people also planning to join. They're supposed to join today, they did not join. I will cover the linear regression tomorrow. What we'll do is, ideally we'll start by 8:30, right? 8:30 to 11:15 we will continue. Okay, is it okay? I hope all of you are fine with that, right? But don't miss out tomorrow's session. That is very important session. Don't miss any of the machine learning algorithm, deep learning algorithm. Henceforth, all the sessions are very important. If you miss out any session, you will not be able to understand. It is all interrelated. I'll try to relate one algorithm with another algorithm also. Fine. Okay. Tomorrow we will continue with the linear regression. Okay. Make sure that you're all joining on time. Okay. Prakash, I don't think you need the email authorization and all. Something wrong from you. So probably you can check with Gopi, right? How he joined, right? And then I don't think so. You don't need any email authorization and all. You'll be able to join. Only thing is in Zoom, once you join, I'm the one supposed to admit you. There's something called admit option. I need to do that. You need to wait for some time. In that case, okay.
That's fine, sir. Even last time also there is no problem. Only today only appears that issue.
Oh, okay. But in the last session, even today only, from today onwards, I started using this one, the Zoom,
Okay, okay.
because frequent issues, I posed with GoToMeeting. That's the reason why I switched over to this one. Okay.
Fine, sir.
Fine. Okay, we will circle back tomorrow by 8:30 p.m. itself. Okay. It's going to be interesting session. Don't miss out any session from tomorrow onwards. Okay. Fine.
Sure.
So good night. We will circle back tomorrow. Okay. Bye bye. Take care.